Hey y'all, it's Janine, and today I'm going to bring you an acrylic painting project that my son and I recently worked on. It's really simple, it's not difficult painting to do. I am no artist, I am not an art teacher, so believe me, this is not complicated. And if you are an artist and art teacher and you see that we're making lots of mistakes in our process, I understand. This isn't meant to be very technical. It's meant to be fun, something you can do with your children at home, because it is very simple, and the supplies for this are very inexpensive. I paid anywhere from 57 cents to 97 cents per bottle. For the paint, you can get packs of brushes for $10 and under, because again, you don't need like the best of the best. You just need something that'll work. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and show you some simple images that we created. I did get some pictures off of the internet and ran and copied them, and then we just simply traced them onto our little canvas paper and created our pictures from there. And like I said, we're just going to show you some very simple painting techniques. It's fun, and you do end up with a fairly impressive looking little painting, so you can make it, you know, whatever images you'd like to match rooms in your home. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to show you all the supplies that you're going to need, and then we're going to jump into the painting. Okay, these are the supplies that you're going to need when starting a painting project. Of course, you're going to need some paint, and I've got a variety here of acrylic paints, and these are really inexpensive. They're under $1 a piece for this size. And the only two colors I would say that you absolutely have to have, of course you can choose whatever array of colors is going to work for whatever you're painting, but you're always going to need a white and you're always going to need a black. That's going to be pretty important. And for what my son and I are doing today, we're going to be utilizing some Sharpie markers to help with our detailing. You can also do it with the black paint and a brush, but if your hand isn't as steady, you can always use Sharpie markers if they work for your picture. And then we've got this canvas paper. You can see it's just like a piece of paper, but it has the canvas texture to it. And this is what it looks like. This is a fairly old tablet, but it is 9 inches by 12 inches. Then you're going to need a picture, whatever it is that you're wanting to paint. In my case today, I will be painting a crawfish fleur-de-lis. He's supposed to be in the shape of a fleur-de-lis. And then we are using this paper. I know it looks terrible. It's kind of old, but it's just artist palette paper. It's just for mixing your paints on, but you can use a paper plate. You can use, like right here, I've got some freezer paper covering my table to keep it from getting any paint on it. You can see I've got it all the way across the table. And there's my son. He's already working on his picture. Anyway, so you can use a number of things to mix your paint on. You don't have to have a special paper to do it. And of course, you're going to need an assortment of brushes. And then since we're working with acrylic paints and not oils, we can use just plain water in cups to rinse our brushes. So these are the supplies that we need to get started with. Oh, and one more thing, and of course if you draw very well and you don't need to trace, then this won't be necessary for you. Go ahead and draw the image that you want to paint right onto your canvas paper. But I'm using graphite paper because I don't draw so well, so this is going to help me trace my picture onto my canvas paper for painting. And of course you don't have to use canvas paper. They do make canvas boards, and of course you can get stretched canvas on a frame if that's what you prefer to use. But for today, we're just going to be using this canvas paper. Okay, now that I have my image traced out onto my canvas paper, I'm just outlining it with some black paint and a thin striping brush. And you can see where having transferred the image with the tracing paper is making this really easy. And I did fast forward through all these parts because I knew that would be about as interesting as watching paint dry, to watch me slowly trace out this image for you with paint. But I'm trying to be somewhat neat about it, but it doesn't have to be exactly neat because this isn't going to represent your final product. This is just helping to give you placement for your background and for your image. Okay, so now I have got my picture completely outlined, and as soon as this paint dries, which doesn't take long, these acrylic paints dry very, very quickly. So as soon as this is dry, I'm going to start working on my background. And let me go ahead and show you Trey's. He's already started working on his background. He's decided to do his background in red, and then he's going to do some more accent colors in his background in some other colors. So we'll come back to him when he's ready to start doing that. Now that I have my image completely traced out with the black paint, I'm going to go ahead and start on my background. And the first color I'm working with is just a khaki color. And you don't have to be real specific about this, like in what direction your brush is going. Just get that paint on the background as best you can. Okay, so Trey has got his first coat of his background color on, and he is going to apply a second coat. Okay, so I have got my second coat on, and it's still a little bit wet, but I'm going to work with it while it's still a little bit wet. And what I'm using for my accent colors is, this color is called Parchment, and it's an apple barrel color. This color is called English Ivy, and it's also an apple barrel. And Pale Green by Apple Barrel. And Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel. Okay, the way that I apply the colors on my background is I start with the darkest color, which is the burnt umber in this case. And I just use a little tiny bit of paint on the paintbrush. I dab off most of it on a paper towel, and then just apply it quickly in back and forth strokes to get that diagonal pattern. And then I just layer each color up from the darkest to the lightest. And if you get too much color on one part, if you just get too much of the brown or too much of the cream color, then just go over it again with a couple of the other colors, and it'll even it out really nicely for you. And it doesn't have to be exact. It's just supposed to be fun and create an interesting background for your picture. Okay, I'm going to be layering colors here for my crawfish. And I know that may seem a little bit strange, but it's because of the final product that I want, the overall color effect that I want. Don't be afraid to layer colors, and if you don't want to do it directly on your canvas, try it on a scrap piece of paper first to see how it looks, and then do it on your canvas. In my son's case, he layered green and then a blue over it to achieve an overall teal look that was not like a solid color, but a little bit more of a layered color. So now I've got my entire crawfish done in black, and I know it seems a little bit crazy that I did that, but the red that I have is a pretty bright red. It's called Cardinal Red, and I really needed it to be deeper than that because I don't know if you've ever seen a boiled crawfish, but they come to a very deep red color once they're boiled, and so I wanted to mimic that color as much as possible, and then they're kind of a little bit speckled in color. So that's why I did it this way, and you'll see as I apply the paint what it's going to end up looking like. And you can see I did try to be, as careful as possible, staying within the outline. I did kind of lose my antennas in the background. I can still make out somewhat of a shape of them, but I'm probably going to take my pencil and go back over them. I still have my picture to use as a guide when the time comes to go back and put these lines back in. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on the red, and you can see how that comes together. And a quick note here, just want to show you where Trey is with his picture. He decided to not do a striated or mottled background. He just wanted to stay with the red. And so now he's working on his fleur-de-lis. And this is where he is right now. Okay, now I just start applying the red over the black, and again, I'm trying to be, somewhat neat and staying within the lines. It's okay if you go outside of the lines a little bit because your final steps will really help to clean that up and make it look nice. And I did end up going over the crawfish twice with the red color and a little bit more heavily, like around the edges, so that it left more of that layered look, inside the middle of the crawfish. And I just went over the whole thing, except where you can see I left a little bit of whites for the crawfish's eyes. Now this is where the real magic happens. I am just going in with a very thin striping sort of brush and going in all around the crawfish and adding the details. I started with the whites of the crawfish's eyes, kind of underneath the little black circles there, and the little highlights above that, and then all around the crawfish, again using my picture as a guide to show me where the lines go. So I just went all the way around the crawfish, and also I added his antennas back in. And this is where you do want to try and have a steady hand. Take your time. Don't be in a rush about it, because where you spend a little bit more time here on the details is going to make a huge difference in the overall appearance of your finished product. And another little thing that I learned from watching an art teacher recently was to get the little dots around the crawfish to give it that extra little bit of accent. All I did was mix a little bit of the black and the red paint together, and then used the handle end of my paintbrush, dipped it in that paint, and then just dotted those little dots all around. So it really was very simple to do, and it was, again, one of those little finishing touches, just makes the overall product look really fantastic. So I just added some final little details to my painting. First, I traced in with pencil the letters that I wanted to add to the bottom, and then I went over it with a Sharpie marker because it really just made it nice and crisp. Could have done it with paint and a striping brush, but this was just a lot easier and a lot neater. So I just wrote in House of Brick, established 1995. And I did do one last little detail. I added a fleur-de-lis into the center of the crawfish and cleaned up around his claws a little bit. But there's the finished product. And you can see it was really simple. There wasn't a whole lot of expertise involved. And there's my son's, and I think he did an awesome job. So you can see this is a really simple project to do with kids. I can't wait to see your creation. Thanks for watching.